Here's a question. Did you ever consider traditional publishing?
Yeah, I did. So I did try to query Molten Flux and the Hytharo Redux before I went. Like this was back in like maybe 2021. Before I went to self-publishing because that did seem like the way to do it. And working a full-time job at the time, I was just like, look, if I manage to strike an agent, if they take me on and go to a publishing house, that's a good deal of work taken out of my hands, and I can keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I did try getting in the query trenches, and God, it's unforgiving because you are just sending emails out and hoping for the best, and you never hear back. And I think one of the things I realized is that my story and my world and my setting were a bit too out of left field for traditional publishing. I don't think there's much of a appetite for really weird post-apocalyptic things unless like you can pitch it just right. Although the publishing that you see in traditional publishing is based on trends, so like if your book isn't named something along the lines of a bowl of mac and cheese, like it doesn't have that naming structure, no one gives a crap. So I think that I found myself kind of disenchanted by the whole process, and it was only once I kind of got to a point where I was sick of my full-time job as well that I decided, I'm going to take this thing on the road. I'm going to go indie with this. And, I found some great podcasts to listen to. Shout out to the Two Indie Authors podcast who have just the two guys running that. They just recently decided they have to stop because they're getting too successful to keep doing the podcast. They're just like, we're not indie authors anymore. We're getting book deals, man. We can't keep talking authoritatively on this stuff.
Yeah.
I started listening to that and I started really getting into it. And I pumped out the novella that's a free kind of reader magnet on my mailing list in about 6 days. It's kind of like a proof of concept to like, I can write this fast, It ended up being about 20,000 words or so. And it was a really fun kind of tight story to write. And so, I decided from there, like, I can do this. I'm going to work at it. I looked at kind of how much money I was sitting on and my budget, and I figured out kind of how much time I can give myself to do this. And so, I've just been kind of trucking away at that, and it's been going pretty good. Like, again, like I'm coming up on, I've just released my 4th book. I'm coming up on book number 5 now. And then, book number 6 that I release is going to be hopefully later this year if I can write it fast enough. And I'm going to try and do a big Kickstarter because that'll be all 3 books of the Flux Catastrophe series, like that whole completed series now, which is apparently like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for self-publishing, is having a completed series. Going to do a nice big Kickstarter with hardcovers, going to try and get the audiobook going. And because like a lot of the stories based around scrap metal and stuff, I want to have like a Kickstarter tier for a metal-backed cover.
Oh, that's cool.
For someone who's willing to pay for it. I just need to, I've seen someone do it with like cast aluminium. I'm obviously not going to do it myself, but I'll find someone who can do that and probably charge like $1,000 for the book set if they want that.
Yeah. So do you think you would ever, that sounds really cool. I probably would not be able to afford to buy it, but it sounds really awesome. So would you take a book deal if it came? Like, would you stay self-published?
Look, I mean, if they make me an offer, I can't refuse, right? The thing I like about being self-published is the control bit. Like, I like being the final say for the structure of the book. I like getting the edits back, and I still get the final say of how the edits go. I like getting the final say of what goes into the book. The book cover alone, like, God, I love, shout out to kfrancis.art on Instagram. He's my cover artist as well, makes these really cool post-apocalyptic environments for me. I just love having control of that kind of thing. And so if I did get a traditional publishing deal, it would be one of those ones you get from like winning something like the self-published fantasy blog off, which I'm entered for. So fingers crossed for this year, right? Like one of those ones where it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, we'll bring you on board into this publishing house, but you're still calling the shots. Like if I can get big enough to call the shots in a traditional publishing deal, I'll be in. But otherwise, like, I'm kind of enjoying doing the whole process myself.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I've been thinking about this a lot. That especially with how a lot of adaptations have been going recently, of a lot of the bigger name stuff. I think, I don't know if I would trust anyone else to adapt it and to actually do, even like Brandon Sanderson. He's been saying. He goes, Hollywood's been knocking on his door for years now, and he's like, but I don't. He's like, I don't need their money, so they don't
Yeah.
really have any power over me. So he's really trying to be very careful about how he does stuff, and even with the secret projects,
Yeah.
he self-published all those. He was like, he didn't do it. You just go
Just
through
went,
his
I wrote some
publisher, and
books. Just have them.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think it's interesting to see these, even the big artists, the big authors are like, we want the control too. And
Yeah.
so I think that's becoming really important to people.
Yeah, like look, we've seen some of the Hollywood adaptations have been absolute butcheries of these like big, like almost big IPs. Like, yeah, I totally get why Brandon Sanderson would go like, yeah, I'm uneasy because like I don't know how many books he's got out there now. Like, if you made a Brandon Sanderson movie,
Mm-hmm.
people would come see it. You know, you don't need to put effort into making a Brandon Sanderson movie. Everyone's going to show up anyway. But yeah, he's probably waiting for someone to come along who really gets it. And I think if I was in that position for my books, I'd be waiting for someone to come along and tell me, "Hey, I discovered the answer to this like really obtuse like puzzle that you hid in one of your books." If they come to me and tell me that, great.
Yeah.
They can give me all the money they want. They can have the rights to it. But until then, yeah, I'd be scared. I think like recent times we've been seeing like some really good adaptations come out. Like I don't know if you watched like the Fallout TV show recently, but
It's on my list. I haven't watched it, but it's on my list.
it's really good. And I won't say any more because I hate it when people overhype things.
Yeah. Well, and we saw things like I'm not one to necessarily just hate an adaptation just because.
Mm,
I would say I've felt very lukewarm about most of them. So like Rings of Power is a great
mm,
example. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the worst thing that's ever been made. It could have been a lot better, and there was a lot of things that didn't make sense.
mm.
Um, they certainly aren't the Lord of the Rings movies. And so that's where I'm at of just like, you know, do you want a lukewarm adaptation or do you want,
Yeah, it's a
something
tough thing.
that's
Because if
great?
someone rolls up and they're just like, "We'll give you 10 million bucks, but we're going to make a lukewarm one," I'd be like, "I don't know, 10 million bucks is 10 million bucks, right?"
Right. Yeah. And that's the
It's tough.
question everyone's got to ask themselves for
Yeah,
sure.
what's your price?
Yeah. I think that I think about Peter Jackson when he made now I'm not really sure what happened with the Hobbit movies. That's a whole
Mm,
other thing. But with the Lord of the Rings movies, there's a part of an interview he did where he said, "We want to make Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and we don't want any of our own stuff in it."
mm,
And I think that's why it was so successful, is that they were
yeah,
tried to remain, they're not the same as the books. They don't stick to them exactly, but they tried to keep that essence. And I don't know if we do that anymore. I think
yeah.
everyone's kind of
It's
like, we want to make our own thing. And like, that's fine, but then just make your own thing. That's kind of where
and obviously like put some soul into it. Like you see some soulless adaptations and it's disappointing. I think yeah, it's just tough dealing with like big legacies like that. Like you kind of see the same thing with like Blade Runner 2049. If you watched it, like that was
Mhm.
a sequel to a movie that had come out 38 years ago with a different director and like yeah, just trying to pick up this like Blade Runner itself. That's a really contained story. Like for an expansive world, it was a really focused story. So then trying to pick that up again is a really difficult thing. But that came out really good. So I don't know. I think that a lot of the time, a lot of these adaptations just aren't given enough time to cook. Maybe like I think
Mhm.
the Fallout adaptation, again, not to spoil it, like that was given time to cook. Like the props alone were so accurate to the game and the lore. Like I got really excited when I saw just like a bottle of glue on a table that I recognized as like the model from the game. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that one so I've not actually, I'm not much of a gamer. I play a little bit,
Mm.
but so I've not really played the Fallout games, but I've heard that show is incredible. So
Oh,
it's on my
it's
list for sure.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.